Hello Summoners, welcome back to another ProGuides video. My name is Nathan Ng, and today we'll be discussing the counter picks for some of the more popular OP champions on patch 11.21. We'll be going over the runes, builds, and playstyles to effectively counter specific matchups. So the next time you run into one of these characters, you have the game knowledge and confidence to bully your opponents. Not that we condone bullying at all, unless it's League of Legends. We'll start things off in the top lane with Teemo as a counter to Camille. Prior to this patch, Teemo was already one of the best performing counters to Camille, since his blind can completely negate her Q. Well, now that his blind lasts longer, has a lower cooldown, and reaches his target quicker, a well-played Teemo will destroy her even harder, leaving Camille completely unable to use her most powerful trading tool. Once you get the lead on Teemo, the game becomes awful for the enemy team. Before you start splitting, go into the enemy jungle and throw down your shrooms, then start bullying Camille in the side lane. The enemy team is forced to react and give their struggling side laner some help, but they have to wade through the shrooms that you put into the jungle to do it. Most of the time, they're almost dead by the time they reach you, and they have to stop their chase entirely. Now, let's take a look at your build for this lane. For your runes, you'll want to run Press the Attack, Presence of Mind, Alacrity, Coup de Grace, Taste of Blood, and Ravenous Hunter, with the stat runes being Attack Speed, Adaptive Force, and Armor. For your items, start with the Doran's Ring and then rush Gnasher's Tooth. After that one, go for Sorcerer's Shoes, Oblivion Orb, and Rift Maker. Now go for Void Staff and Rabadons, then upgrade that orb into Morellonomicon. Having solid counter picks is definitely an important part of winning in solo queue. If you're playing off the back foot from Select, odds are already bad. But there's more to it than that. You also need really solid fundamentals if you're trying to actually climb. Whether you're new to the game or you just have years of bad habits, it can be difficult to find direction on your own. Our top tier coaches over at ProGuides.com can help you figure out exactly what you need to work on. They're available 24/7, so it's never a bad time to come and try one out. I promise there's always at least one that specializes in exactly what you're looking for. So if you're getting ganked in your own lane, these guys have spent years reaching the top of the ladder and they could definitely help you out. So why don't you just take some of their tricks? All you have to do is click that link in the description. Now let's get back into the video. Our second top laner is Singed into Set. Set has really strong trading against the standard top laners, but Singed is anything but standard. For one, he doesn't trade around big, bursty major cooldowns. All his damage comes from a slow burn of his poisons. Since he doesn't deal a bunch of damage at once, Set never really stacks up his grit, so he can never get that chance to use that big bop of damage that makes him so OP. In teamfights, Set also doesn't really do much to you. Against other top laners like Camille, Set can ulter out of her own ultimate to free the tethered ally. But as Singed, your ultimate lasts a whopping 25 seconds, so if Set uses his ultimate to try to peel you, you're gonna zip your way back into the fight and continue the mayhem. Now let's look at a build for Singed. For your runes, run Predator, Taste of Blood, Eyeball Collection, Relentless Hunter, Conditioning, and Unflinching, with the stat runes being Double Adaptive Force and Armor. For your items, you'll start with the Corrupting Potion, then build into Rallies, Steel Caps, and Rift Maker. After that, go for Demonic Embrace, Dead Man's Plate, and whatever last item suits your game best. Some good options are Force of Nature, Abyssal Mask, and Randuin's Omen. Now taking a look at the junglers, our first counter is Talia into Graves. Don't be fooled by the Graves nerf this patch. He's still really strong since most of the other meta junglers are going to be hit hard by Gore Drinker and Conqueror nerfs, and a solid counter is key to dealing with him. The biggest issue with Graves is that he can sort of do whatever he wants in the jungle. If he's a stronger duelist than his opponent, then he can just constantly contest camps. If he's not, then he still outclares them and can avoid fights thanks to his W and his E. As the game goes on, he farms up and eventually outscales his opponent and can start carrying the game a little bit too hard. But as Talia, you've got what it takes to deal with him. In head-to-head fights, you counter him pretty hard. First of all, you outrange him with your Q, so you'll be able to check him hard before the fight even starts. Then if he tries to dash into you to get some damage back onto you, he'll get a big chunk of damage from your E, assuming that you already have it on the ground. And now that his mobility is gone, you can pop him back over with your E and W, effectively bursting him down and putting some distance between you two. Let's take a look at the build that you should be going for. For runes, you'll want Dark Harvest, Cheap Shot, Eyeball Collection, Relentless Hunter, Nimbus Cloak, and Gathering Storm, with the stat runes being Double Adaptive Force and Armor. For your items, start with the Hail Blade, then go for Sorcerer's Shoes, pick up an early Dark Seal, and then go for your Ludens and Medjais. Once that's done, build into Cosmic Drive, Void Staff, and Rabadon's Death Cap. Our other jungle counter is Elise into Echo. If you know how to path really well, you'll win this matchup through how much sheer pressure that you can apply in the early game alone. By the time Echo's ready to start ganking lanes, you'll already be snowballing you and your teammates to victory. You also smash Echo in every single 1v1 battle that you get into with him. You burst him down with your combo, and then if he's committing to the fight, you can use Repel to easily dodge a stun. If he's trying to run, you can use it to follow his E instead. In teamfights, you do a really good job of stopping him from doing what he wants. If he tries to roll in and jump on your backline, hit him with your stun and then burst him down. If you're fed enough, you can easily one-shot him, but even if not, he's very likely have to ult out of the fight. Now let's take a look at your build. Now for your runes, you'll want to run Dark Harvest, Cheap Shot, Eyeball Collection, Relentless Hunter, Triumph, and Coup de Grace, with the stat runes being Attack Speed, Adaptive Force, and Armor. For your items, start with the Hail Blade, then rush Sorcerer's Shoes, pick up a Dark Seal, and then build into a Rocket Belt and Medjai's. Once that's done, you'll go for Lichbane, Void Staff, and Rabadon's Death Cap. This build is all about being as much of a glass cannon as possible, since at least needs to snowball hard if you're gonna win games. You could go Zhonya's over Medjai's, but it really slows down your roll, and I really advise against it unless you really need it. Speaking of builds, if you want to build yourself up by avoiding mistakes, then go ahead and visit ProGuides.com, that way we could help you out. Now, for the mid lane, our first counter pick is Vlad into Vex. Vex does a really super good job of punishing melee champions, and she punishes them hard when they go in to farm, and even harder if they try to jump on her for a good trade. But Vlad is able to sit back, safely sustaining and farming up into the late game monster that he's supposed to be. Vex can't just really bully him hard enough in lane to stop it from happening. Then in teamfights, Vladimir's natural tankiness makes him way too beefy for her just to burst him down, so you're able to wipe out the entire enemy team, pretty much uninhibited. Now let's look at Vladimir's build. For your runes, you'll run Predator, Taste of Blood, Eyeball Collection, Relentless Hunter, Celerity, and Gathering Storm, with the stat runes being Haste, Adaptive Force, and either Health or Magic Resist. For your items, you'll start with the Dark Seal or Doran's Ring, and then build into Rocket Belt, Sorcerer's Shoes, and Cosmic Drive. If you want Dark Seals, then you'll upgrade it to Medjai's at this point. Then go for Void Staff and Rabadon's. If you didn't go for Dark Seal or you just think that you can't keep up with the stacks, go for Zhonya's instead. Our second mid lane pick is Malphite into Akshan. Like Graves, the Akshan nerfs aren't nearly enough to push him out of the mid lane, so you'll definitely want a solid counter. Malphite works perfectly for this. Just like any other solo lane marksman, it's really simple. If they are in range to trade on you, then you're in range to shoot them with a Q. In the very first few levels, the tradings will be pretty close, but once you have more points in Q, you'll be chunking them hard. Meanwhile, they'll be tickling you as you build more and more armor. Post 6, you can pretty much 100 to 0 him, especially if you run Ignite. In teamfights, you'll have much more impact than him, which is a given, since Malphite is just about the strongest 5v5 initiator in the game. Now let's look at the build for this one. For your runes, you'll run Grasp, Shield Bash, Conditioning or Second Wind, Overgrowth, Mana Flow Band, and Transcendence, with the stat runes being double Adaptive Force and Armor. For your items, you'll be starting off with a Doran Shield, pick up an early Bramble Vest, and then build into Frostfire Gauntlet, Lucidity Boots or Steel Caps, and Frozen Heart. With that done, you'll upgrade your Bramble to Thornmail, and then go for Randuin's Omen and Abyssal Mask. Usually, when you see Malphite mid, you expect to see a glass cannon full AP one-shot machine. But against Akshan specifically, this doesn't work too well, since he'll just rush Wit's End and actually end up stronger. But that aside, AP Malphite is actually a lot of fun. And that brings us to today's question of the day. What champion do you like to build as an off-meta glass cannon? Obviously, we're looking at champions that don't typically just nuke people down with their standard builds, so something like Annie or Katarina won't really belong here. Let us know your answers down in the comments below. Now, taking things down into the bottom lane, our first counter that we have is Swain into Misfortune. Swain's trading pattern is pretty similar to MF. He bursts really hard, really fast, but he has the added benefit of getting sustained from hitting his combo. Plus, he has CC, so when comboed with the support, you can pick up kills pretty early when you catch MF with your snare. Post 6, you'll win every all-in when you fight around your ultimate cooldown. MF's damage in extended fights is relatively low, especially in the early game, and she can't just DPS you through all that healing. An added bonus in this matchup is that you naturally go for Zhonya's on Swain anyway, so you have a tool to completely avoid MF's ultimates. Now let's look at the build for Swain. For your runes, you'll run Conqueror, Presence of Mind, Tenacity, Coup de Grace, Cheap Shot, and Ultimate Hunter, with the stat runes being Attack Speed, Adaptive Force, and Armor. For your items, you'll start with Doran's Ring and then go for Liandry's, Sorcerer's Shoes, and Zhonya's Hourglass. After that, go for Demonic Embrace, Void Staff, and top things off with the Rabadon's Death Cap. If you're against a particularly AD heavy team and you want to be even tankier, you can go for a Frozen Heart or Randuin's Omen over Demonic Embrace. Our other bot lane pick is Seraphine as an answer to Vayne. This isn't just about going for a crazy hard direct counter for Vayne that just runs in and kills her all game long. Instead, you're here to use Seraphine's strong poke and wave clear to neutralize the laning phase so you can make it to the teamfighting stage of the game. Vayne outscales pretty much any other champion when it comes to raw TPS output, so instead of trying to beat her there, you'll have a completely different goal in mind. You'll be using Seraphine's utility pack kit to enable your team to carry as you shield, heal, and speed them up while dishing out huge amounts of CC to the enemy team. Now let's look at your build for Seraphine as a bot carry. For your runes, run Airy, Mana Flow Band, Transcendence, Gathering Storm, Presence of Mind, and Coup de Grace, with the stat runes being Haste, Adaptive Force, and Armor. For your items, start with the Doran's Ring and then buy an early tier. Build into Liandry's, pick up Lucidity Boots, then upgrade your tier into Archangel's Staff. Once that's done, go for Cosmic Drive and Rabadon's Death Cap, with your last item being a situational one. Some good options are Celtic Putrefier, Staff of Flowing Water, Ardent Censer, and Zhonya's. Now, taking a look at the supports, our first pick is Maokai into Nami. Pretty much all of Nami's strength comes from her impressive trading with her W. She bobs in and out of the bush, poking down you and your ADC while healing herself back up. But as Maokai, you're able to take bush control with saplings, so she just doesn't do as she pleases. By forcing her hard and making her move up to trade, she leaves herself more susceptible to your engages. And if you do get an engage on her, you can nuke her down in a single all-in, as long as your ADC follows up. But good luck with that, it's solo queue. Maybe, sometimes. Let's take a look at your build that you want for Maokai. For your runes, you'll want Aftershock, Font of Life, Conditioning, Unflinching, Biscuits, and Cosmic Insight, with the stat runes being attack speed, armor, and HP. For your items, start with the Relic Shield and then Rush Boots of Swiftness. You'll be skipping a mythic item to rush Deadman's Plate instead, which you'll follow up with Abyssal Mask and Wardstone. Your last item is situational. You can go for Thornmail if your team needs some extra heal cut, or you can just go ahead and go for Stellarii now if your team will get the value out of that AoE shield. Finishing off our list, we have Nautilus as a counter to Yuumi. Yuumi unfortunately has picked up in popularity due to Worlds, so we think it's a really good idea to be able to punish people that just pick this ultra scaling pick. By going with Nautilus, you'll be playing a support that provides a lot of pressure, with the enemy ADC having to dodge hooks in what effectively is a 1v2 lane early on. If the Yuumi ever detaches, you can just flash auto her for a free kill. Post 6, you can ult the enemy ADC to set them up for an easy hook with little to no counterplay, especially if they're immobile. And the most important part of this counter pick is that you don't actually really get outscaled. Against all other engaged supports, the combination of Yuumi giving huge amounts of movement speed with her E and being able to buy Mikhail's means that eventually, she can just keep her ADC safe from most engaged supports. But as Nautilus, your ultimate is unavoidable, no matter how many zoomies Yuumi gives her ADC. This then sets you up for an easy hook and then a dead enemy carry. Now let's take a look at what your build should be. For your runes, run Aftershock, Font of Life, Conditioning, Unflinching, Biscuits, and Cosmic Insight, with the stat runes being attack speed, armor, and magic resist. For your items, start with the Relic Shield and then go for Moby Boots and Locket of Iron Stellarii. Next up, you'll want Zeke's Convergence and Abyssal Mask for all that damage amp, then top things off with the Wardstone. And that concludes our latest episode of Counter Picks. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if you did, be sure you sub so you never miss out on our meta guides and you're always in the loop on what the best picks are. Remember, let us know what your favorite off-meta glass cannon is down in the comments below. And one last thing, don't forget to check out our Discord in the description as well. We can go ahead and discuss the league further or just hang out and be a part of the community. I can't wait to see all of you guys back in the next video, but until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and have a wonderful day. Peace.